was the director of sales. And although I didn't like everything about her style and technique, one of the things that I appreciated the most was she acknowledged every contribution to the broadcasting company, every contribution. And I noticed that, whether it was a business who did an advertisement, she took the time to sit down and immediately send them a postcard. If it was an employee who did something within the company, she took the time to sit down and write them a note. It didn't take her a minute. Mm-hmm. And she would just put thank you for, whatever it was that was done. And she was constantly acknowledging the things that people did, and I was always very impressed with that. And I realized how much it meant to me. And so I kind of took up that mantle when she switched directions. But and I tried to implement that even when it wasn't something benefiting me or relating to me, and it was something to another person in their career. I would try to reach out to them and say, I saw what you did, and I'm very happy for you, and encourage them. And it really goes a long way.
You are so right. Acknowledgement, appreciation, they are such powerful leadership tools, and they're so frequently overlooked. I mean, when you think about the culture building that woman did and that you continued to do after she left, the connections, the motivation, the engagement, when you think about the minute it took to write that postcard, she got disproportionately positive returns from that investment.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I really appreciate you drawing the attention to the time factor, because we hear that, even in our own broadcasting world, is, I don't have time to do that. I can't edit this because I'm on this amount of time constraint and so forth and da-da-da-da-da. So we have tried to really listen. I think listening is really critical. When people are under that time constraint, what can we do to scale back what you're doing so you do put the quality into what it is you're working on? And we had a host say that to us. I'm so busy. My Friday afternoons with my grandchild is being interrupted. Uh-oh. So that was an immediate, okay, no, that's not going to happen. So what can we do to restructure so that is not taken away? Because that, even though it's a personal thing, when you're satisfied in those areas, it makes your work better.
Oh,
and we recognize that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. The lines between work and home, our work lives, our personal lives, they're increasingly blurred as a result of, technology, communication, virtual working settings and that sort of thing. And so you're absolutely right. Finding that balance is critical, because without it, it's going to mean that both the work and the home fronts are going to suffer.
Yes, absolutely. This is really good material, so I don't want to run out of time, so I'm going to keep moving us forward.
Okay.
Charlie, we also had a section in Chapter 6, and would you go ahead and read that area so we can touch base on it?
Sure will. Challenge me. Stretch me. I am not worried about being promoted as I am about learning, growing, and seeing my talents used in new and different ways. An employee, perhaps yours. Insight and growth are all about possibilities. But the problem is that managers and employees alike frequently have outdated views for what those possibilities are. Growth in today's business environment means bidding adieu to some old thinking. Say goodbye to the career ladder, the organizational belt-tightening and delayering that have occurred over the past several years have left fewer leadership positions. The upper layers of the pyramid, which have always been slimmer, have become mere slivers. Say goodbye to limiting career paths and say goodbye to checking your personal life at the door. We've moved beyond work-life balance to work-life integration. The convergence of technology and communication has blurred the lines for many between work and home.
And that's exactly what you were just saying, Julie, is that the style of how many of us now, are telecommuters, they get an opportunity to work at home. They don't have to fight the traffic. Yay, I'm one.
Me too.
Charlie, you're also in that position. And other than being great for the environment, we're not contributing to the smog and environmental hazards. There is a lot that goes into those challenges when you do make that transition to telecommuters or people who are work at home, businesses that are run out of homes, is the boundaries between business time and family life do get blurry. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. When I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing that my office is just down the hallway, there's just this pull, whereas if I had to get up and get in a car, I'd never go.
That's true. That's very true. And it is tempting. I have to tell you, wake up out of a dream, a good idea hits the head. Oh, I want to go, work on that. But I really have to discipline myself. And, I make sure that, I don't take phones and electronic equipment to my room. I purposely make sure that they are, at the desk and, computers are off and so forth. And it can be a challenge.
Good for you, but that is a really good discipline.
Yeah.
It's a good discipline because, it's a double-edged sword when we love our work so much that we, we're ready to hop out of bed in the middle of the night to follow up on that good idea. The problem is it's just not sustainable. And so how do we sustain our energy and refresh and rejuvenate and be able to keep it going over the long haul?
Good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And as of late, it hasn't been the radio programs. It's been Downton Abbey that's calling my attention. I love this series. Oh, my gosh. It's just so amazing. Okay, so back to the topic. One thing I wanted to touch base, and we are about out of time, but we've got to get to a couple of things here, Julie.
Okay.
You put in here in that reading, I'm not as worried about being promoted as I am about learning and growing and seeing my talents used in new and different ways. How does an employee, because your book is, although it's great for the business leaders, it's great for the employees. Mm-hmm. How do they broach that and make that known? How do they do that?
Well, and let me just step back because a lot of people push back on that statement, that people really want to use their talents, that they don't care as much about promotion. So a lot of people do. About 25% of the population is looking at a promotion. But when we did some research, we asked, what's the number one thing you want to get out of a career conversation with your boss? Top answer was creative ways to use my skills and talents. And so we know that that is something that employees have an appetite for. And we also know that not all managers are going to naturally be good at drawing that out and working with employees. So your question is very well taken. For an employee who wants to take the initiative and be proactive, not wait for his or her boss to open the door, there it's a conversation. It's really a matter of going to one's supervisor and saying, hey, I think I'm pretty good at this. I'd like to try it in this way. What do you think? And when an employee is clever about figuring out a business need that needs to be taken care of, real work that needs to get done, a gap in what the organization or the department is trying to achieve, and they can figure out a way to do that real work concurrent with developing their skills and abilities, really, what manager isn't going to love hearing, hey, I can solve your problem, I can handle this and cover this work, and oh, by the way, I'm going to grow and learn in the process.
Cool. Yeah, that
sounds
like a
really
plan.
Good. Yes, absolutely. And that is something to pay attention to is when you are, broaching that topic is establishing a need, and how can that need be filled. And so that's excellent advice. So I want to get to a couple of things here because we are about out of time, but I have to just share this, and then, Julie, I want you to share your thoughts as we wrap up here. This book is for businesses. It is for career development. It is for personal development. I cannot speak highly enough of this book. I think this book should be in every university that has classes on business management, career development. It would be a great thing to even have in high schools as young people are choosing careers. This is a handbook. Your son says the pamphlet, but I mean, it literally is. It's a guide, and I cannot highly recommend it enough. So enough said. And now, Julie, I want you to share with our listeners, your last thoughts, and please share with them websites and where they can get more information about your work. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. It has been such a pleasure to visit with the two of you. Thank you so much, and it was well worth the wait getting to be here. So thank you for the opportunity. And
you're welcome.
In terms of contact, I have a website. It's www.julie-winkle-giulioni.com, and there's a lot of information there. There's some videos. There are you can get a couple of chapters from the book to get a little bit of a preview, as well as blog posts and other information on career development as well as leadership in general.
Wonderful. And I also want to remind listeners that Storytellers Campfire has links on their website so that any guests that we have, you can link straight. You can just go to storytellerscampfire.org. In this case, you would want to click on the show page and then Author's Voice, which is where the Help Them Grow or Watch Them Go is featured. And then there are links directly to the author's website. So always remember that. If you're not writing things down as you're listening, most guests have a link from our website to theirs. Julie, it has been a pleasure. I am so glad that you were patient and you joined us here at the campfire. And Charlie, great reads. I really appreciate the emphasis and different areas that you stressed because it really triggered different points that we wanted to talk about through the program. So I appreciate you reading for us tonight.
I enjoyed it immensely, and I've learned a lot. So I will have to further read this book as well myself.
Yes, it's something I keep going back to all the time. It's not something that I have read and then put down, okay, I know the material. I'm actually using it as a handbook, as a guide.
Oh, cool.
So
well, I
want people to know it sits on my rack, on my desk as a guide.
Oh, cool.
So that's it's very impressive work.
And my
favorite and Julie, for you, I mean, just really appreciate the simplification and showing us all, it's okay to move forward and go with the changes that society is asking